Bernice had never asked to become the moral compass of the internet, yet somehow, she found herself pulled into the swirling chaos of lies, filters, and fake narratives that define the digital world she worked in. As a freelance video editor for influencers, she saw more behind-the-scenes deceit than most people could imagine. Every tearful confession, every authentic vlog, every glow-up story, she knew how manufactured they were. Still, she did her job quietly, avoiding drama, until one influencer crossed a line she couldn't ignore. Her name was Lyra Langston, a rising TikTok wellness star whose entire brand revolved around raw honesty. Her followers adored her emotional vulnerability and supposedly unfiltered lifestyle. But Bernice knew the truth. Lyra's persona was scripted down to the last trembling breath. Her viral breakdowns were rehearsed. Her candid moments were staged. Her transformation stories were built on lies. Bernice didn't mind editing illusions, but she drew the line when Lyra fabricated a life-or-death medical crisis to exploit people's generosity. It started with a message from Lyra at 2 a.m, demanding an emergency edit. She claimed she'd been diagnosed with a rare neurological condition and needed Bernice to assemble a dramatic confessional vlog. She attached shaky footage of herself crying, tubes taped to her arms, prop tubes. Bernice recognized them instantly from a costume store they had visited weeks before. When Bernice questioned her, Lyra doubled down, insisting it was all real and that the storytelling embellishments were necessary to raise awareness. Bernice almost walked away, but something in her snapped. She couldn't let thousands of vulnerable viewers be manipulated into donating money, sympathy, and emotional energy to a lie. She told Lyra she needed a day to work on the footage, then spent the next 24 hours gathering evidence. Years of edited files, original unfiltered clips, unused takes, timestamps, all of it painted a damning portrait of orchestrated fraud, and Bernice knew just how to use it. Her plan was simple but devastating. She would expose Lyra's fabrications using the one thing influencers feared most: context. Not edited highlight reels, but the untouched truth. She compiled a video titled Behind the Filters, the making of a fake crisis, layering raw footage, unedited audio, and timestamps proving Lyra's deception. The final scene showed Lyra rehearsing her crying face in a mirror, adjusting her ring light for maximum tear sparkle. Bernice watched it twice, steadying her resolve. She uploaded the video anonymously to a public evidence archive known for whistleblower submissions. Within minutes, it caught fire. Viewers were shocked, betrayed, furious. Lyra's fanbase fractured instantly, with some defending her while others demanded accountability. Large commentary channels picked it up, dissecting every second of Bernice's evidence. Hashtags calling out Lyra trended worldwide. Sponsors pulled out. Brand deals vanished. Lyra's carefully curated empire began to collapse in real time, and Bernice watched from her apartment, equal parts relieved and terrified. She hadn't meant to spark a digital wildfire, but now it was burning uncontrolled. Lyra responded exactly as Bernice expected, by doubling down. She posted frantic live streams claiming the footage was misinterpreted, insisting the props were from a charity skit, accusing unnamed saboteurs of hacking her files. But nothing matched. Her lies piled on top of each other until even her most loyal supporters began questioning her. When journalists reached out to verify her medical claims, she refused to provide records. When sponsors asked for clarification, she blocked them. The truth wasn't just slipping through her fingers. It was pouring out faster than she could spin new stories to patch the holes. For the first time, Bernice felt the weight of what she'd done. Not regret, never regret, but responsibility. She hadn't exposed a random liar. She had unveiled a full-blown social media ecosystem built on manipulation, and people were waking up fast. Survivors of real medical crises spoke out, condemning Lyra's exploitation. Former employees came forward with their own experiences of coercion and emotional abuse. The snowball kept growing, rolling over every fabricated milestone Lyra had ever posted. Bernice realized she hadn't just toppled an influencer. She had sparked a movement demanding authenticity over illusion. But the backlash soon took a darker turn. Anonymous accounts began posting doctored screenshots accusing Lyra of crimes she hadn't committed. Some users, eager for drama, fabricated new lies to feed the outrage machine. Bernice watched in horror as the mob spiraled beyond her original intent. She wanted truth, not chaos. She wanted accountability, not cruelty. Yet the internet didn't distinguish between justice and vengeance. It devoured whatever narrative generated the most engagement. The situation escalated so rapidly that even Bernice's anonymous upload came under scrutiny. People speculated about the whistleblower's identity, spinning theories that grew wilder by the hour. Bernice knew she had a choice to make. She could hide and let the frenzy continue shaping its own distorted reality, or she could step forward and reclaim the narrative before someone twisted it into something dangerous. After a sleepless night, she drafted a statement, measured, factual, devoid of emotion. She explained what she had witnessed, why she exposed it, and what she hoped people would learn. She emphasized that accountability should never become harassment, and that the internet's appetite for destruction often overshadowed the truth. When she finally posted it, signing her full name, she felt a strange calm settle over her. For the first time, she was no longer hiding. She hoped honesty would guide whatever came next today. Bernice expected backlash the moment she put her name on the statement, but she hadn't anticipated the tidal wave of reactions that followed. Her notifications exploded with messages, some supportive, others venomous. There were heartfelt thank yous from people who had donated to Lyra's fake fund, furious accusations from Lyra's loyalists, and even reporters requesting interviews. Bernice ignored the noise, focusing instead on monitoring how her message was being interpreted. To her relief, many took her words seriously. Larger creators echoed her call for accountability without cruelty. Mental health advocates praised her for addressing the dangers of weaponized sympathy. Even a few influencers who had collaborated with Lyra in the past publicly apologized for not seeing the signs. For a moment, Bernice believed the chaos might settle into something meaningful. But Lyra wasn't done fighting. The influencer posted a new video titled, "The Truth Behind the Lies," a 20-minute monologue in which she alternated between anger, tears, and faux vulnerability. She claimed Bernice had manipulated footage, insisted she truly had been sick, but had chosen not to disclose medical records for privacy reasons, and accused Bernice of ruining her life out of jealousy. She even fabricated text messages, crudely edited, suggesting Bernice had threatened her. It was a desperate attempt to regain sympathy, and it might have worked if people hadn't already seen the undeniable evidence. Still, the video added gasoline to a dying fire. Some viewers began attacking Bernice directly, calling her a clout chaser, a liar, a traitor. Conspiracy theories bloomed like weeds. One thread claimed Bernice had been planted by a rival influencer agency to sabotage Lyra. Another claimed Bernice had edited the entire exposé using AI deepfakes. The absurdity would have been laughable if the threats weren't so real. Bernice received emails from burner accounts telling her to watch her back, and suggesting she better hope nobody finds where she lives. Her friends urged her to go offline, but Bernice refused. She knew disappearing would only fuel speculation. Instead, she did something unexpected. She scheduled a live stream. No filters, no edits, no aesthetic lighting, just her, a chair, and the truth. When she went live, over 30,000 people tuned in. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice remained steady. "I didn't make this about Lyra," she began. "I made it about the truth, and I still believe the truth matters." She explained how influencer editing worked. She showed examples, nothing confidential, of how emotions could be fabricated in minutes. She talked about the toxic cycle of expectation and performance that pushed creators to exaggerate, embellish, or outright lie. But she never once attacked Lyra personally. She kept her focus on the bigger picture. "I'm not here to destroy a person," she said. "I'm here to expose a system that rewards deception." Her live stream clipped through the internet like a cleansing wind. Viewers praised her composure and clarity. Even those who initially doubted her began to reconsider. The tone of online discourse shifted again, still chaotic, but less hostile. But behind the scenes, Lyra was unraveling. Former friends leaked messages revealing her fixation on maintaining the perfect tragedy arc. Past employees posted anonymously about her micromanagement, her need for constant validation, her obsession with viral sympathy. Slowly, the world began piecing together the reality behind the persona. Lyra wasn't just dishonest, she was addicted to the attention her lies bought her. Then came the breaking point. An investigative journalist released a comprehensive report detailing the inconsistencies in Lyra's claims, backed by medical professionals who confirmed the props she used couldn't mimic actual hospital-grade equipment. The article also revealed that Lyra had earned tens of thousands from sympathy merchandise sales during her fake treatment phase. That was enough to trigger legal scrutiny. Within hours, the donation platform she'd used froze her account pending review. Bernice learned all of this the same way everyone else did, refreshing her feed. She didn't feel vindicated. She felt tired. Tired of lies. Tired of chaos. Tired of watching truth turn into a battleground. All she had wanted was for people to stop being manipulated, not for an entire industry to be shaken. Her phone buzzed. A private message. She expected another stranger's threat, but when she opened it, she froze. It was from Lyra. "We need to talk, privately, before this gets worse." Bernice stared at the message for a long time. Meeting could be risky, but avoiding it could make her look like she had something to hide. And part of her genuinely wanted to understand how someone could fall so deeply into their own fabricated story. She agreed to meet at a cafe, public, neutral, safe. Lyra arrived disguised under a hoodie, sunglasses, and a scarf, but the moment she sat down, Bernice could see the cracks. Lyra looked exhausted, her makeup smeared, her veneer of confidence shattered. "You ruined me," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling not with anger but with desperation. "Everything I built, everything I worked for." Bernice met her gaze calmly. "You didn't build anything real." "That doesn't make it hurt less," Lyra snapped, then immediately softened. "You don't understand. I couldn't stop. The pressure to be perfect, to be inspiring, to be tragic. People wanted a story. I gave it to them." "At what cost?" Bernice asked. Lyra didn't answer. Instead, she leaned forward. "I need you to retract your statement." Bernice blinked. "Absolutely not." "If you don't," Lyra hissed, "I will expose you. I'll say you fabricated everything. I'll sue you for defamation. I'll destroy your career, your reputation, everything." Bernice felt a cold clarity settle in her chest. "You already tried that," she said. "It didn't work." Lyra's face twisted with panic. "You don't understand. I need this. I need people to believe me. I can't survive without." She stopped herself, pressing a shaking hand over her mouth. And in that moment, Bernice saw the truth more clearly than ever. Lyra didn't fear losing money or fame. She feared losing validation. Attention wasn't just her currency, it was her oxygen. Bernice stood. "I hope you get help," she said quietly, "but I'm not enabling you." She walked away, leaving Lyra trembling behind her. She didn't look back. Bernice walked home from the cafe with a knot of conflicting emotions tightening in her chest. She'd expected anger from Lyra, maybe even denial, but not the raw desperation she had witnessed. It lingered with her long after she closed the door behind her, as if Lyra's trembling voice had carved itself into the quiet of her apartment. Bernice didn't pity her, not exactly, but she finally understood the depth of the influencer's dependence on her digital persona. Lyra wasn't addicted to fame. She was addicted to being believed. Bernice made herself tea and sat at her desk, staring blankly at her editing software. For years she had lived behind the scenes, stitching together illusions for others, never imagining she'd become part of a story herself. Now she was at the center of a controversy spiraling beyond her control. Her face was plastered across commentary thumbnails. Strangers debated her motives in live streams. Internet detectives dug through her past jobs, her client list, even her old college accounts. Every day, someone tried to twist her role into a narrative she didn't recognize. She understood now why most whistleblowers stayed anonymous, but she couldn't change it, not after choosing transparency. All she could do was keep moving forward. The next morning, her phone began vibrating nonstop before she was fully awake. She checked her notifications and felt her pulse spike. A new hashtag was trending, one she hadn't expected. Stand with Bernice. Dozens of creators were calling her brave, praising her ethics, sharing their own experiences with dishonest influencers. Someone had clipped her live stream and turned it into a motivational soundbite. Advocacy pages highlighted her call for accountability. Even a few major publications ran articles describing her as a quiet hero in an industry of smoke and mirrors. Bernice didn't feel like a hero, but she did feel something unfamiliar: support. Real support, not the hollow applause she often saw online. But the shift in public sentiment meant Lyra was losing ground fast. Later that afternoon, the donation platform released an official statement. After reviewing evidence and communication logs, they determined Lyra had violated multiple policies. Her donation page would be permanently removed, and pending funds would be returned to donors. The news spread like wildfire. For many of Lyra's followers, it was the final confirmation they needed. Her comment sections filled with disappointment, anger, confusion. Not threats, just the painful acknowledgement that they had been misled. Bernice watched from the sidelines, feeling no satisfaction, just closure. Or so she thought. That evening, her inbox pinged again, but this time the message was from a name she didn't recognize: Ava Morrow. When she opened it, her eyes widened. Ava claimed to be a former friend of Lyra's, someone who had been part of her private circle before the fame. She said she had information Bernice needed to hear. She wrote about secrets, manipulation, and something she called the vault. The email ended with a single chilling line. "You think you exposed everything, but you have no idea how deep the lies go." Bernice reread the message 3 times. She didn't want to get dragged deeper into drama, but something about Ava's tone felt urgent. She hesitated for several minutes before replying, asking for clarification. The response came within seconds. Ava suggested they meet in person. Bernice considered refusing, but after everything she'd seen, she couldn't shake the sense that this was important. She agreed, but only under strict conditions. Public location, no recording, no photos. Ava accepted immediately. They met the next day at a bookstore cafe. Ava was younger than Bernice expected, mid-20s, with tired eyes and fidgeting hands. She slid into the seat across from Bernice and lowered her voice. "I'm not here for drama," she said. "I'm here because people need to understand just how far Lyra's lies reach." Bernice remained cautious. "Start from the beginning." Ava wasted no time. She explained how, years ago, Lyra's social media growth had stalled. Obsessed with breaking into the spotlight, she began crafting tragedies to boost engagement. It started small, claiming she'd lost her job, exaggerating family issues, but over time the lies escalated. Followers craved emotional arcs, so Lyra gave them heartbreak, betrayal, recovery. Every time interest faded, she invented a new crisis. She didn't care who she hurt, Ava said, gripping her coffee cup. She told people the stories were harmless because they made others feel seen, but she wasn't doing it for them, she was doing it for attention. Bernice listened, absorbing each word with growing unease. "But what's the vault?" she asked. Ava took a shaky breath. "It's a folder, multiple folders, actually. Lyra kept everything. Every fake scenario she planned, every scripted breakdown, every rehearsal. Voice recordings, practice cries, drafts of tragic Instagram captions, lists of lies she planned to use one day, even templates for fake medical documents." Bernice felt the air leave her lungs. If such a vault existed, it was explosive. Ava continued, "The reason I reached out is because she hasn't stopped. Even now, she's planning her comeback arc. She thinks she can spin all this into a redemption story. If she does, the cycle starts again, and people will fall for it because she's good at what she does." Bernice sat in stunned silence. She knew Lyra fabricated things, but she never imagined the deception was premeditated to such an extent. "Where is this vault?" Bernice asked carefully. Ava glanced over her shoulder, lowering her voice even further. "I know where she keeps the backup drive." Bernice braced herself. "And why are you telling me?" "Because you're the only one she can't manipulate," Ava said, "and the only one with enough credibility to expose everything correctly. If people see that vault for themselves, no one will be able to twist the narrative ever again." Bernice understood the implication immediately. This wasn't just about exposing one lie. It was about revealing an entire architecture of manipulation, proof that would change how the digital world viewed authentic influencers forever. But taking possession of that vault, it meant stepping far deeper into the fire than she ever intended. And she wasn't sure she was ready for what she would find inside. Bernice sat across from Ava in the bookstore cafe, feeling the weight of a decision she never imagined she'd have to make. Exposing Lyra's fake medical crisis was one thing. It was a single situation with clear evidence. But this vault, as Ava called it, was something entirely different. It wasn't just a snapshot of dishonesty. It was a blueprint of intentional manipulation, systematic deception crafted over years. It could vindicate thousands of people who had felt betrayed, protect future followers from being emotionally exploited. But it could also destroy Lyra permanently. "Why not go to law enforcement?" Bernice asked quietly. Ava shook her head. "I'm not sure there's anything illegal in the vault itself. Immoral, yes, manipulative, definitely, but not everything is criminal. And honestly," she paused, glancing down at her hands, "I'm scared. Lyra knows how to turn narratives. If I go public, she'll paint me as jealous, unstable, whatever helps her survive. You, though, people trust you." Bernice sighed, resting her elbows on the table. "You trust me?" Ava nodded. "Enough to come here." Bernice thought about it long and hard. She hadn't asked for any of this. She was an editor, not a crusader. But now the truth was sitting at her doorstep again, begging to be acknowledged. She couldn't ignore it, not when she had already stepped into the light. "Where the backup drive?" she finally asked. Ava slid a small, sticky note across the table. On it was an address, an apartment unit in a high-rise on the west side of the city. "That's her private editing studio," Ava explained. "She keeps the drive in a locked drawer. I can get you inside, but you'll need to be quick and careful. She still uses that space." Bernice stared at the address, her heart thudding. This was risky, far riskier than uploading anonymous evidence. But the voice inside her, the one that refused to let lies fester, pushed her forward. "When?" Bernice asked. Ava exhaled in relief. "Tonight, she won't be there." The sun had already set when Bernice arrived at the building. Ava was waiting near the back entrance, hood pulled up, eyes darting nervously. She guided Bernice inside through a service hallway and up a quiet stairwell. Every step echoed with tension. "Are you sure she's not here?" Bernice whispered. "She's at a meeting with her PR consultant," Ava replied, "trying to build a crisis recovery plan." That didn't surprise Bernice. Lyra always had a strategy. They reached the 6th floor and slipped into the studio, a small, meticulously organized space filled with ring lights, backdrops, microphones, and a wall lined with inspirational quotes. It was the perfect performance arena. Ava led Bernice to a white desk tucked in the corner. She reached under the drawer and clicked a hidden latch. The drawer slid open with a soft hiss, revealing an external hard drive, silver, unassuming, but likely holding years of engineered tragedies. Bernice's pulse raced as she lifted it carefully. "This is it," she whispered. Ava nodded. "Everything on there." Bernice plugged the drive into her laptop. The system recognized it immediately, and a folder labeled Content Master appeared on the screen. Inside were neatly organized subfolders. Scripts, emotional arcs, sympathy projects, draft confessionals, tragedy templates, hospital scenes, cry practice, emergency posts, future plans. Bernice clicked one at random, cry practice. Multiple video files loaded, each showing Lyra rehearsing breakdowns in front of a mirror, adjusting angles, practicing breathing patterns to simulate distress. Another folder, hospital scenes, contained staged footage with lighting setups clearly visible, as well as notes like, "Try different tier angle for authenticity." Bernice felt sick. Ava wasn't exaggerating. This was not improvisation. It was premeditated deceit designed to manipulate millions. "I'm sending this to myself," Bernice said, selecting the entire vault and beginning the transfer. Her hands trembled as the progress bar slowly filled. The room felt smaller with each passing second, the air thick with the weight of what she was taking. Halfway through the transfer, Ava suddenly stiffened. "Did you hear that?" Bernice froze. Footsteps. No. This couldn't be happening. The footsteps grew louder, advancing down the hallway toward the studio. Ava's eyes widened in panic. "She's not supposed to be here," Ava whisper-yelled. "We need to hide." But Bernice couldn't stop the transfer. It would corrupt the files. And she couldn't leave the drive behind. She slammed the laptop screen down halfway, grabbed the hard drive, and ducked behind a green screen backdrop just as the door swung open. Lyra stepped inside. Ava's breath hitched beside Bernice, but Bernice stayed still, every muscle locked. Lyra paced the room, muttering angrily into her phone. "No, I'm not giving up," she snapped. "This is just another arc. People love comebacks. I just need a new angle, maybe a stalker situation or a hacking scare, something that makes me look vulnerable again." Bernice exchanged a horrified glance with Ava. Lyra wasn't learning anything. She was spiraling further into the delusion that everything was content, every crisis, every consequence, every human emotion. Lyra rummaged through her desk. When she reached the drawer, Bernice felt her heart stop. "What the?" Lyra murmured. She yanked the drawer open fully. "Where's my drive?" Bernice held her breath until her lungs burned. Lyra whipped around, scanning the room as if she could sense the theft. Her breathing quickened, her voice sharpened. "Someone been here." Ava silently mouthed, "We need to go." Lyra stepped toward the center of the room, closer, closer, until the backdrop shielded Bernice by only a sliver of fabric. One wrong move and she'd see them. Just then, Lyra's phone buzzed loudly. She answered with a frustrated growl, distracted for a moment. Ava seized the opportunity. She grabbed Bernice's wrist, and together they slipped out through a side door as quietly as shadows. Once they were in the stairwell, Bernice finally exhaled. "I got it," she whispered, clutching the drive. Ava nodded, tears of relief pooling in her eyes. "Then everything changes tonight." Bernice wasn't sure what everything meant yet, but she knew one thing for certain. The world was about to see the truth, every last ugly corner of it. And nothing would ever be the same. Bernice had always imagined that the climax of her confrontation with Sabrina would feel explosive. Maybe a screaming match, maybe tears, maybe the grand unraveling of a woman who had built her entire existence on mirrors and filters. But strangely, when Sabrina finally messaged her requesting a face-to-face meeting, Bernice felt nothing except a calm, steady certainty. It was the kind of inner stillness that comes when all doubt has evaporated, when the truth is no longer fragile but firmly rooted. Sabrina chose a trendy cafe, naturally. It was the kind of place where influencers staged, candid, table photos that took 30 minutes to set up. Bernice arrived early and sat where the morning light spilled evenly, making it impossible to hide behind shadows. When Sabrina walked in, she paused for a fraction of a second upon seeing Bernice's expression. "You look composed," Sabrina said stiffly. Bernice smiled politely. "And you look like you expected me to fall apart." Sabrina pulled her sunglasses down, revealing anxious eyes. "Bernice, I didn't come here to fight. I just want to clear the air. Everything has gotten way out of hand." Bernice folded her hands on the table. "Out of hand," she repeated. "You mean the fact that you used my face, my name, my work, my trauma, and my reputation to build a brand." Sabrina flinched. "You're making it sound malicious." "It was malicious," Bernice said. "But go on, tell me your version." Sabrina exhaled sharply. "Fine. Look, I only borrowed your content because you weren't using it properly. You had good ideas but no consistency. I wanted to help build something worthwhile. You always had potential but you never used it. I just took what you didn't appreciate." Bernice stared at her, unable to hide her disbelief. "You stole my life and called it help." Sabrina leaned forward, lowering her voice. "You don't understand what it's like being on top. When you start growing fast, people expect more. I couldn't keep up. I didn't know what content to make anymore. Your posts had authenticity. Mine had aspirational quality. Combining them just made sense. Bernice almost laughed at the absurdity. Sabrina, you created a persona based on lies. You claimed I was your miserable cousin trying to drag you down. You said I photoshopped your pictures to make you look bad. You said I spread rumors about you. And all of that because you were afraid people would find out the truth. Sabrina looked away. You ruined my life, she whispered. No, Sabrina, Bernice said softly but firmly. I just removed the curtain. You ruined it yourself. Sabrina's jaw trembled. Do you know how many brand deals I lost? My own followers turned on me. They didn't turn on you, Bernice corrected. They just finally saw you. For a moment, Sabrina didn't speak. The background hum of the cafe grew louder, punctuated by small clinks of cutlery and the frothing of milk at the coffee bar. Finally, Sabrina said, What do you want, Bernice? Do you want money? An apology video? Do you want me to shut down my accounts? Bernice shook her head. I don't want anything from you. Sabrina blinked in confusion. Then why did you do all this? Why expose me? Because it wasn't just your lies, Bernice replied. It was the damage they caused, to me, yes, but also to the people who trusted you. You made women feel like failures for not fitting your fake life. You sold them insecurity wrapped in affirmations. You convinced them their real lives weren't good enough. Sabrina's shoulders slumped. So that's it. You get to walk away the hero and I'm left with nothing. No, Bernice said quietly. You're left with the truth. What you do with it is up to you. Later that evening, Bernice uploaded her final video, this time under her own newly revived and verified account. It didn't have dramatic music or animated text. It was just her, sitting on her balcony, the city lights behind her. Hi, I'm Bernice, she began, the real one. She explained everything, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with honesty. She talked about digital identity theft, the pressure of online perfection, the mental toll of seeing someone else warp your reality. She talked about forgiveness, not the kind that excuses wrongdoing, but the kind that releases you from the weight of someone else's choices. The video reached 1 million views in 24 hours. But this time, the comments weren't toxic. They weren't divided. They weren't fueled by algorithms designed to amplify outrage. They were supportive. They were empathetic. They were from people who had been hurt by similar digital illusions. Bernice spent hours replying, guiding, uplifting, reassuring. She wasn't an influencer. She wasn't a content thief. She wasn't a victim. She was a storyteller, and a truthful one. Days later, she received an email from a major digital ethics nonprofit asking if she would speak on their next podcast. Another email followed, requesting her to be part of a documentary series about online identity, truth, and manipulation. And soon enough, universities began inviting her to talk about critical thinking in the digital age. But the real victory came quietly. Her mother texted her, I'm proud of the woman you've become. Her old followers returned, not because of aesthetics or trends, but because they trusted her voice. And as for Sabrina, she posted a single message on her empty account. I'm stepping away for a long time. I lied, I hurt people, and I have a lot to fix offline. Bernice read it, nodded once, and closed the app. She didn't screenshot it, didn't share it, didn't mock it. It wasn't her battle anymore. She had reclaimed her life, without filters, without pretenses, without fear. And that was the real revenge. She chose truth over spectacle, and the world finally listened.